I was the first one done.
All right, guys, we are live after tons of technical difficulty here with the weekly Alien Factory podcast. We got our special guest tonight, Nathan Waddell. He is a new pro driver over on the Dirt Series, along with the man, the myth, the legend, and number one team driver, Robert Cook, and the man himself, the Admiral, Tracy Rumschlad.
Drop your beer, grab your gear. The Admiral's here.
There you go. How are you guys doing tonight? How was your 4th of July weekend? We took last weekend off.
I had a good one. Spent some time with friends, family, swam in the pool. Had a good weekend.
Ours was good too. Yeah, ours was good too. We just laid low, went to a race. Actually, no, I stand corrected. We went to Football Hall of Fame. That's what it was, because the USFL had their championship game down there, and I thought it might be a good idea for my boy and I to go down. So since it was more like the first Super Bowl ever, so I'm part of history now. So that's what we did on the 4th of July weekend.
There you go, Tracy.
I just try to keep my dogs calm.
Well, you got some good looking dogs everybody can see there in the screen. So keeping the dogs happy is always a good thing. What have you guys been into this week in iRacing? Trace, you been into anything this week, or racing anything? Worked, tinkering around anywhere?
Yeah, this week not so much. I ran one of the World Outlaw fixed sprint car races at Port Royal. I wanted to try Port Royal, and went out there and practice. And I was fastest in practice, which amazed me. I was like, "You gotta be kidding!" And so I thought, I'm gonna enter a race, and I did, and ended up being on the pole. So I started first, and it was a 30-lap race, and I led like the first 20 laps, and I'm going, this is too good to be true. Something is going to happen here that's not going to end well. And lo and behold, just like my luck holds out, I ran over a guy trying to pass him, a back marker, and it happened to be third place I was lapping, and destroyed the guy, destroyed me, and then that was that. That was my race. So other than that, not a lot of excitement. Just been testing, that kind of stuff, but nothing other than that.
Nathan, what's your week been like?
Just running a lot of hosted races. Ran some of that, what they call the SLR hosted broadcasted races. Did pretty good in those. The official series that I run in, like the late models, they're at pros are at Knoxville, supers are at Volusia. I think I've won all of the races I've ran in the supers at Volusia, but pros at Knoxville just aren't really my combination. I hadn't really done all that well in those, but we'll take what we can get. It's a learning experience as always. So
those broadcasted hosted races that you're in, how does one go about getting into those? Is it invitation only, or do you have to qualify? Like, what's the deal with those?
No, it's that's the cool thing about it. It's Peter is the guy that puts them on. He's the host of the server, and he's the broadcaster, and it's all in the hosted sessions. They're open, no password, nothing. It's just first come, first serve. You just got to get in there before it fills up. And I think normally it's like top 4 advanced from each heat, and then you got some consolation races and everything. So it's normally pretty good competition. It's just cool to be in a broadcasted race, and they do them. He does them a couple of times a day, mainly on the weekends.
That's cool. Robert, what's it been like for you at Atlanta this week? I know you ran some races there.
I think I only ran 3. I think one I didn't do very good in, and one I was racing with you in, and I think I didn't do very well there. But you finished 4th. I think it was 4th with a tore up car, and I finished back in 12th or something like that. And then I think one race I finished 4th.
Yeah, I did finish decent with a tore up car. I tell you, I finished decent in about all the ones I raced at Atlanta. I think I raced 3 or 4, and one of them I got wrecked out in. I think the rest of them I finished decent, but I had massive amounts of X's every race. I mean, you're like that one time I got 4th place and was down 12 RPM, so it was a tore up car. I didn't have a hood or a front bumper. I was running the modified division, and but I was only down 12 RPM, which meant if I floored it orbit all the way around that I could stay in the draft and stay. I wasn't doing no passing. I just hugged the bottom, and just stayed there. And yeah, but it was that one was pretty wild. That was the first one I ran, and then I got wrecked out once, and I finished top 5, I think, in all the rest of my race, but a lot the other 2 or 3 I raced. But yeah, I had tons of X's every time. I don't think I finished a single one of those races below an 8X. It's like 8, 10, 12. It's 8 or 12. I mean, it's all 4 X's. 8 or 12 is pretty much what I got every time, for in Atlanta. It was pretty frustrating. I don't know. It's been rough.
This is where we need Scotty. His race, I don't think, has gone very well. Yeah.
What do you think of the new Atlanta anyways, since you guys raced it at that new configuration? What do you guys think of that?
Took a while to get used to. I like the old one better, but after you get the hang of this one, it's not too bad. But everybody and their mother is driving the Atlanta because it's flip down and just go.
The new Talladega, I heard.
Yeah, and what Robert, it's split in the north, like even in the middle of the day, it's split in 2 and 3 times. Like the Geritol races are almost split in the mornings even. I mean, yeah, everybody and their brothers racing there because it's just like Talladega and Daytona. Everybody shows up because it takes like 0 skill.
That's whenever I do my oval racing.
Yeah, so well, hey Nathan, you should have been there with us.
No practice needed.
Yeah. Just send it all the time. You got a momentum, just take it.
Yeah, just send it.
Yeah, some of these guys, some of them had loose cars, drifting up after 15, 20 laps, and they're drifting up, can't hold the bottom anymore, and they're trying all they can to keep it on the bottom. Really, we didn't have that many cautions. I don't think. I don't think there's that many. Or maybe there was.
The thing that I found interesting this week, and Tracy and I looked at this, and we're the first ones to spot it, was that this is a 1.5 mile track, but they're using the super speedway Talladega Daytona chassis. And Nathan, I don't know if you know much about the Xfinity cars and the way they set those up, and even the trucks a bit too, but especially the Xfinity cars. There's 3 different chassis. There's a short track chassis, the intermediate chassis, and then there's a super speedway chassis. Super speedway. I think the road uses the intermediate, but anyway, but now Matt Holden from iRacing argued with me and Tracy and said it was only 2 chassis. There was the super speedway and intermediate, and he's developer for. I'm a developer, so I know there's only 2. And we're like, dude, there's 3 because this on a short track chassis, the settings are like the values are different. You can change it to you may say it's 1, but it's totally different. So the tire pressure
are way different.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same parameters you can set, but the values that the min max values and stuff you can do are way different. And so anyway, this 1.5 mile in Atlanta is the only 1.5 mile that uses the super speedway chassis with the the restrictor plate super speedway chassis, which I thought was interesting. And I suspected it, especially when all the setups from before just went red everywhere. And then, and we were able to load up like a Daytona and Talladega setup in there, and it worked. And that's not what we use, but I mean, you could load it up and it worked just fine. And that was odd because they don't work anywhere other than Daytona and Talladega. So I said, hey, Trace, I think this is the super speedway chassis. Check that out. And he looked at it, was like, yeah, it is. So, yeah, I mean,
yep.
What did you see when you were looking at the chassis and stuff this time in Atlanta?
Well, since it drove like a super speedway, basically how you had to set it up was low drag and all out. I know some of the setup shops, they were setting them up more like the intermediate chassis, moving weight around, stuff like that, the ballast. And I think a lot of those drove better personally, but anybody was on a super speedway. I mean, maybe they had great luck with them, but I just remember that they got loose real quick. And then like what Robert was talking about, couldn't hold a line with them. They just strayed all over the place. So that's what we found on that. But yeah, it was interesting to see that that track took the super speedway chassis.
Yeah, you had to tighten it up, drop the track bar down. You just had to tighten it up a little bit. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of grip there too. That was shocked, the amount of grip that was on that track. It'd be a new and all.
I wish all iRacing's track had that, and we could start.
Oh my goodness, it was crazy the amount of grip that was on that track. But yeah, I mean, you had to crack the throttle usually going into each of the turns, and that was about it.
What? No cracking throttle?
Well, you did if you wanted to save your tires and make sure that you didn't start shooting up the track later on. I mean, that was the thing after about
Saving
20
tires.
laps.
Just
Yeah.
go for it. Just crank that wheel,
Yeah,
kick it in
Nathan's
there
like-
and go.
Nathan's like,
Saving
save a
tires.
tire. What's that for? I'm a dirt guy. I don't do that. But yeah, no, because there was a lot of guys who either get loose after a while, or depending on their setup, or they start getting tight and pushing up the track if they didn't do that. And some of the guys in the race were like, how do you not scoot up the track, after a while? And the guys are like, just let off just a hair. When you go into the corners, it'll be fine, But it was a lot of wrecks, man. It was okay for the first 15 laps, whenever guys' tires started to wear a bit and they were getting loose or tight. Some of them, they didn't know how to do it. It was, even in the top splits, I just felt like there was a lot of lack of skill level from a lot of the guys, not the whole field, maybe half the field was good, but the other half was it was rough. I don't know what they were doing.
Did you guys cover the strength of field race on Monday? I think that was the holiday, right?
Yeah, we
covered.
broadcast that one.
Yeah, it was
Now,
good. It was
how'd them guys do?
It wasn't too bad. It was like 3 or 4 wrecks, I think. But they weren't horrible wrecks, like somebody crack loose, get like one other person, they'd go down the skirt or
I don't
somewhere,
even
but
remember it, to tell you the truth. I guess I'm so old.
there was like one decent sized wreck, and that was it. The rest of them were pretty minor.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
tell-
I didn't get to see that one. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I've been doing though, more than Atlanta. So I did Atlanta 3 or 4 times, but I've been racing the MX5s at Wooten Park, and that has been a complete mess. I thought Atlanta was bad. I tell you what, I've raced. You have to go back and look at my profile, but I've probably raced 10 of those races this week at Wooten Park in the MX5s. And Tracy, I have gotten wrecked in every single one of them. I have not finished a race without getting wrecked. And of course, you get the fast repair. So like I've pretty much finished all of them because of the fast repair. But I've gotten, completely. I was in 3rd place one time. This was the worst one. I think I saved the replay. I was going to show you when me and you caught back up later this week. But I was in 3rd place at one point, and I was me and the first place guy were the 2 fastest cars on the track. Period. And this was like a 1900 strength of field, I think, or 1700 strength of field. I know that's not super high, but in the D class, that's top split, or middle split, depending on how high the field is. But anyway, this guy qualified on the pole. It was the 5 car. He qualified on the pole. And you know how Wooten Park is. It's really fast, especially with no chicanes. It's really fast and it's narrow. And the way you take those turns so fast, there's only one line around those turns, not 2. And this number 5 car qualified on the pole, and he fought the leader. And I just hung back and watched it for like 3 or 4 or 5 laps. And these are like 2 minute and something laps. And he fought, or no, they were minute and 42 second-ish laps as a fast lap. He fought that leader and fought. I thought they were going to wreck 2 or 3 times. Finally, the leader gets by. I think he doored his way by the guy. So then he gets to me, falls right back to me because I'm faster than this guy. And I think I was the 2 or 3 car, or no, I was the 1 car in that race. Maybe I can't remember. Anyway, he did the same thing to me. Same thing. And I got 3/4 the way past him. And we were in this like that S turn there at the beginning is after turn 1. And it's
Right.
a little S down to that hard left and that big straight stretch.
Right.
And anyway, dude just comes down, just nails me in the door. And I was 3/4 the way past him. So of course he got in my rear end, took me out, took him out. I was livid. And then that was just classic. And then last night I got wrecked in lap 1, turn 1. Like last night I qualified like 8th or 9th. And I'm like, I'm just going to hold off. And I'm like, I got my car, I'm holding back and everybody's entering turn 1 and I brake early and I'm just chill. And I go on the bottom and I'm hugging the rumble strip on the bottom. And this dude from the outside lane just comes down, bam, wipes me and him out. And then we were at the beginning of the field. So like maybe I was like fourth back on the left-hand side on the start, and we wrecked it was one of the biggest wrecks I've seen this week. I got hit by 5 or 6 cars, and he did. Just cleared everybody out. Lap 1, turn 1. I mean, that's just. I've lost 600 or 700 I rating, and I've lost like 1.4 on my safety total.
Well, I heard I met a new streamer up there. Some female you were racing with.
Yeah, there's a gamer girl, Kayla's her tag. She's been following and chatting with us on the MX5, and
Yeah, give her a shout out here on the show. Hey.
yeah, Kayla. Yeah,
That's the whole idea when I brought that up.
Right.
she said she was going to race some MX5s with us if we wanted to. says she loves those things. That was pretty cool. But anyway, Alton Park has been a mess this week. I worse than Atlanta. I can't even describe. And for some reason, guys, it's like the craps table or the slot machine. I just keep coming back for more because I've been practicing.
You think the next one's going to go good?
Well,
Right.
yeah, that
Exactly.
and I don't know if it's going to go good, but I've been practicing. I've been getting my lap times down, like real competitive. And I'm like, I know I'm fast. If I just got one more chance, I may not get wrecked this time.
But you realize that the bigger the number you have after a while, you're going to have the highest number out there, 15, 20, whatever. But, then each time you go better, you're going to have your number better I rating. You see what I mean? You can lose it all, but after that, you're going to start gaining again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Start from the bottom, work your way back up.
that's what's been going with me this week. Let's shift gears, Nathan, and talk about you for a bit, man. You not necessarily the Road to Pro stuff, but you were talking about before Road to Pro. You were on your equipment. You were on the Thrustmaster TMX, and you had a not a huge 16:9 monitor, and your pedals were for the cheap Thrustmaster pedals and stuff. And you were like, I don't know if I want to change anything before the pro qualifier stuff. So now that all that's over, let's talk about you for a bit in your iRacing. Are you still racing the same old setup, or are you starting to make changes to it?
Oh, still the same old stuff. I did try VR again,
How'd that
and
go?
still don't love it. I think I don't know. I just don't think I like the Rift S. I think if
What's your problem with the Rift S?
just the quality, man, like
Oh yeah.
the pixel quality, the field of view is so narrow. Everything else about it's cool. I mean, just feeling like you're in the car, but
You don't get motion sick or anything, do you?
no, I never gotten motion sick from anything. But
We probably weren't going fast enough.
that's what it felt like. I wasn't doing as good. I was like, obviously something's wrong, and go back to the screen and I'm doing all right. So, didn't want to make too drastic of a change, before the pro qualifiers. And now I don't want to make really much of a change at all for the pro series. So I'm thinking, I don't know.
Well, that's what got you there. That's what got you there, right? So
right. So I'm considering, possibly getting 2 more monitors and going triples, or maybe getting a different VR headset, like the HP Reverb G2. I've been looking at that one. Yeah, see, I was looking at that one, the Pimax, if that's how you say it. Pimax, the 5K or 8K, whichever.
Gotta get a butt kicker.
Well,
butt kicker. Well, that's the sponsor. Yeah, that's the sponsor of the Pro Series.
Robert's got one of those, man. I'll tell you all about it. Keeps him regular.
That's probably a reward. If you win the championship, that's probably send you one. So
really, you need 4. Tell him you need 4 of them.
Oh, because I've heard just
or
one. 5
or 5. Get one on each seat too. Yeah, put them on both sides, on 4 sides.
Get the whole thing going.
Yeah.
Robert's got a problem, Nathan. He starts racing these races. He gets all up on the wheel, wheeling it, and that causes him some bowel problems. I'll let him tell you about it.
Anxious moments.
Well, yeah, it makes. So I think I told you before. It just makes you regular. That's all.
I do remember that.
He says racing clogs him up, but the butt kicker that counteracts it.
That's right.
That helps make him regular.
That's funny.
Because you're racing, you're all tensed up. I mean, everything's all tensed up. You can barely fart, much less say anything else.
I remember, man. It's like it's. I think the most nervous I've been was right after qualifying for the first pro qualifier, the first race. Whenever we were loaded in for the heat race, I had never been that nervous ever for any race. And like, I was pacing, getting ready for the green flag, and I was like, I'm starting to feel a little bit lightheaded. Like this was the biggest race ever for me. So that was the only time I ever really got super nervous.
I bet. Hey, let's keep talking VR for a second. So Trace, you have the Rift S and Nathan has it too.
Yes.
And so I helped you out some. Why don't you tell Nathan and the viewers about how I was able to help you out a bit with some of the issues that Nathan's talking about on the same hardware. So you never switched hardware, but we made it a little bit better.
Right. Well, you're gonna have to correct me because I don't know the terms on it. Now, was it the INI file we got in? All I know is you changed a resolution setting in there.
Super sampling.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't remember the value, but you gave me a parameter to play within, if the frame rate dropped really bad, and here's the example. So when Mike helped me in VR, I couldn't read the dash gauges, right? I couldn't see the values on them. They were just there. And by him, showing me how to tweak it, it cleared those gauges up. So it actually did very good with the adjustments that he made. And so that's where we leave it now. It hasn't killed the frame rate, so everything's good on the frame rate, but it is way more detailed. It makes the screen door effect a little bit less noticeable, which I thought was good. But the overall immersion, it just made it way better. I could read the signage on the tracks,
Right.
that kind of, exactly. So I would have Mike help you with that if you're not familiar with it, or explain it to you. I'm sure you'll probably understand it, and try that and see if it makes your experience that much better. But it was for me, it was like night and day, and I haven't fooled with it since because it's just right where I want to be.
Right.
So that's what happened.
I did read about that. But I didn't ever dive into actually trying it. I do remember reading something around like you want to try to go, because I mean your standard sampling would be 1.0, so super sampling is anything over, and I think it was like 1.0 to 1.4 was where you want to play around at. And
yeah, I couldn't remember 1.5 for some reason.
Yeah,
or
maybe 1.0 to 1.5.
Yeah, we did 150% super sampling with Tracy. I mean, so here's the deal with that. Like for anybody who's listening, I mean, this is kind of for the viewers, Nathan, whoever. But so the deal with the super sampling, I mean, this is something that's been done in video games and computers forever, right? Like if you go get the latest, game from Steam and install it and play it, you especially the lower resolution your monitor is, super sampling is more important. So what it does is it just literally renders the game at a higher resolution than what your hardware can do, and that's okay. That helps gets rid of jaggies and helps get rid of graininess and stuff. And so like if I had if a lot of people, like I've got a 4K monitor, so when I play like Fortnite with my kids, or I play the latest game on Steam that I'm playing, I've been playing a lot of NBA 2K22 here recently. And I here a while back, I played through Star Wars, what was that new one? The Jedi something or other.
Rise of the Jedi.
Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order. That's what it was. And I played through that, and stuff. And so I didn't really have to do super sampling much because I got a 4K monitor. But if you had like a 1080p monitor, 1920 by 1080, and it was big, like say a 32-inch, 32-inch monitor, especially 27 or 32, especially on televisions. If you pumped your computer out to a television, only ran 1080p resolution, you'll see, I mean, it'll be a little grainy at some point. You can see the pixels and stuff. And if the line's like horizontal, going up the screen horizontal, you might see some jaggies there, right? Stair steps. Yeah. And so by super sampling, it gets rid of that, because if you rendered it 4K but push it out to a 1080p monitor, it helps get rid of that stuff. It makes it look clear, even though the monitor's not. It's a trick, right?
It's like is it like upscaling? Is that another term for it?
Yeah, that's another. Yes, it's another term for it. Yep, yeah. Well, it's similar. Upscaling takes the actual. So upscaling is a bit different. In fact, that's a trick they do with video cards too. So like if you don't have a very powerful video card, let's say you have like a GTX 1070 or 1070, it'll do modern games, but it's not that great. They do upscaling now inside the video cards, where you can push it out at 1080p, but you can display it at 4K. And what it does is it renders it at 1080p, and then it uses an algorithm to determine where the extra blocks should go. and it kind of fakes the higher resolution, but that's kind of the opposite, but the same kind of thought. But anyway, point is we were running Tracy's at 150% super sampling, and it really helped clear some of that up. But here's the problem. You're never going, unless you upgrade hardware, you're never going to get rid of the screen door effect, because that's the actual pixels you're seeing. And so unless you increase hardware, you get different hardware with an increased resolution. But what we can do is makes the text easier to read, right? So the text is in the gauges and the text and stuff like that, and the details on the cars around you are getting rendered at a low resolution, then you're just going to seem grainy. But if we can render it at a higher resolution, you're still going to have the screen door effect, but at least it's going to be clear. And so that's what we did for him. But I'll tell you, he has a GTX 1080, and I was worried about if the frame rate was going to drop, but honestly, the resolution's so low in that Rift S that he was able to pump out 150% resolution and never hurt his frame rate one bit. What kind of video card do you have, Nathan?
I have the 1660 Super.
1660, okay.
So it was, I think the clarity for me as a dirt oval racer, the clarity is really important as far as seeing the track, because I gotta know, whenever I'm entering the corner, where exactly the slick is. If I'm trying
to find the slick, you gotta find the slick.
Yeah, so you can avoid it. So
there's some bad news there, because I get what you're saying. There's some bad news there with that, because the farther away you get, the super sampling doesn't help as much. You're limited by the resolution of your hardware. So I'd recommend two things. If you wanted to give VR to the shot, the HP Reverb G2 is a good price point. And then the other one, honestly, is the Oculus Quest 2. The resolution's not quite as high as the Reverb G2, but the screen door effect is pretty much virtually gone. And then also they've really perfected the wireless streaming to the headset now, so you only need a cable. You can do wireless. And I got this monstrosity. Where's mine? Here, I'll bring it up to the camera. I've got this I got stuff falling everywhere. Anyway, I got this special head strap for it, and it's got a if you see right here, it's got a couple of Velcro straps. You can here you go. It's my background kind of blurs in there, but it's got a couple of Velcro straps on it there where you can put a battery pack in it. And I don't know if I got my battery pack, but I got a cell phone here. Anyway, you slide the battery pack in it, like this, and you get like a 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack, and you can play this thing like all day wireless off the battery pack. And I just got a cable that plugs in on top of the battery, and I got it plugged in here to the side of the headset. And it's honestly if you really look for it, you can still kind of sort of see a screen door, but you've really got to look for it. And if you super sample a little bit, you're going to be able to see the slick and the track and everything with it, and it's wireless. Or you can do a cable, with a wire too, either one. But
didn't iRacing just make some changes to the VR in their last update?
Yeah, and
is that what helped out with that?
No, but I was wanting to do a video about that, and I'll just talk about it right now for a couple minutes, just cut this out and make this the video. But they did something. They supported the new standard. It's called OpenXR. And so there's 3 standards now for VR. There's the Oculus VR standard. I think it's just Oculus VR. And then there's OpenVR, which was the original open standard, and Steam adopted it. So like your Valve Index, your HTC headsets, pretty much all the headsets except Oculus have used OpenVR. It's an open platform. Anybody can go and get it. And Steam officially supports it. So if you use Steam VR stuff, that's what you're using. And then there's a newer standard. It's been out for about a year or so, maybe a little bit more, but it's called OpenXR. And it's the same thing, but it's open source. When I say open standard, like Steam lets any hardware developer use it, but it's closed source. Like the Steam owns the code and they wrote it, right? But anybody can use it. So I say open standard. Well, OpenXR is actually open source to where, community people can add to it and stuff like that. But anyway, here's the positives to it. iRacing just added the option to it. So when you guys go into iRacing, you'll see 4 things in the drop down list now. But for the love of God, if iRacing is listening, I've been begging for this, like in every video I talk about this. When you launch iRacing now, that menu where it says monitor, Oculus, OpenVR, OpenXR now, it's small. No matter how big you make it, I got a 4K monitor. And if I go full screen, it's still, that box is still small and you can't see all 4 options on the screen at the same time. Why? Everything else they make at iRacing, if you scale the whole app bigger, those screens get bigger. But for some reason, with this choice of what you want to launch into, does not get bigger. And you got to, and me using VR, I've got to scroll down every time because I don't use a monitor normally, and I don't have an Oculus, so the other 2 options are off the screen. So I got to scroll down to find them. Anyway, that's my pet peeve. And so if I,
good. Let's talk about Nate.
We'll get the, well, I want to finish this VR. We'll get to Nate in just a second, but I want to tell the hub about the benefits of OpenXR. Then we'll move on because I want to talk about, I know Tracy wants to talk to Nate about the dirt and the pro stuff here in just a second. But anyway, here's the benefits to OpenXR. If you are using OpenVR, it's not a direct connection to iRacing. It goes through Steam VR. And here, Nathan, here's one thing you might have heard from people is that every once in a while they have crashes or something, get kicked out of races, or their headset crashes or VR crashes or whatever. And a lot of people that are competitive, like super competitive, won't use VR for that reason. They're afraid that they might get kicked out of the occasional race or something.
Right.
So yeah, sometimes that's Steam VR crashing. So like you got to, and if you have a Windows mixed reality headset, it's even worse, which is what the HP Reverb G2 is. Even though it's an amazing headset, first of all, you got to open up Windows mixed reality portal, which is what it runs through, and that is a VRAM hog. It hogs up a lot of VRAM on your card. And there's some things you can do and some tweaks you can do. And I might do a video on that for everybody here later of the ways you can do to reduce the VRAM usage of Windows mixed reality. And then you have to install Steam VR in Steam. It downloads. And then there's a compatibility layer it puts in there, which is called Windows Mixed Reality for Steam VR. So it's got a little tool that lets it communicate between the 2. Then the Steam VR opens, and if you let the Steam VR homes open, it eats up a bunch of VRAM too. I got that set to not open whenever I start it. So when Steam VR opens, it just opens into like the blank area. It doesn't open up the home. So I save a little bit of VRAM there. So you got Windows mixed reality. Then you got the interpreter tool in between. Then you got the Steam VR layer. And then that finally communicates with iRacing. So if anything in that chain crashes, you're in trouble.
Right.
And so
you have to have all those things in that chain open.
Yes. And so it hogs up resources and stuff like that. So anyway, here's the benefit to OpenVR. If any of you guys are out there that use any of the Windows mixed reality headsets, the 2 most popular ones are probably that for iRacers is the Reverb G2, the original Reverb, and the Samsung Odyssey Plus VR headset. For sim racers, those are the 3 most popular Windows mixed reality headsets you could have. If you've got one of them, and you want to get rid of almost all those middlemen, like pretty much all of them, OpenXR communicates directly with the headset and iRacing. So that's the only layer you got to go through. You open up Windows Mixed Reality portal, and you can do a few things to minimize its resources, and then it launches directly into iRacing straight through the mixed reality portal using that OpenXR standard. So if you're struggling with frame rate, so you haven't upgraded graphics cards in a while, and you got like a GTX 1080 or 2070 and you're trying to run a high resolution headset like the G2, you can save some system resources and probably get 5 more frames per second or more, 5 to 10 more frames per second, or increase your settings and still get the 90 using the OpenXR platform. And also it's going to be more stable because you got less middlemen to communicate through, and you're not going to get as many crashes in races. So, but the only drawback to it is if you use the overlays from Race Lab apps, which is the most popular overlays for people VR because it's super easy. You just click the VR button, boom, they pop up, and then you just use your mouse and stuff to move them around where you want them, and they're there. And every time you open back up, you just open up Race Lab apps, and boom, they pop right up in your VR headset. So, but that does not work yet with OpenXR. I don't know if the developer is planning to implement that at some point, but currently all those work with is Steam VR or the OpenVR platform. And then Oculus, there's a workaround for Oculus by installing something called Revive to get it to work now with them too. But anyway, that's the only, if you're using the in-app overlays in VR, you won't be able to use them yet with OpenXR. But other than that, man, OpenXR is a winner. Less system resources, there should be less crashes, and I think the graphics even the color looked a little bit better. There's just less translation layers to go through and stuff. So that's out there for anybody that's using VR is try out OpenXR if you're not using the overlays, if they're not super important to you. And let me know. Let us know. Just put a comment somewhere. Shoot us a message how that works out for you. I'm glad iRacing decided to officially adopt and support that, so you don't have to keep going through 2 and 3 layers of middlemen and eating up all your system resources and hurting your frames and it being less stable now. So anyway, that's my spiel on the latest patch from iRacing on VR. So let's spend the rest of the podcast. I don't want to really Nathan's not really big into Be Open, so we don't need to go do the weekly wrap up. I'll tell you, we covered all that really in our strength of field race on Monday night. We covered it, broadcast it. The guy who's winning the championship in overall points for Be Open is Cody Trelindi. He won the race, pushed by his teammate Jay Jensen.
Oh yeah, now
Riko.
I remember.
Yeah, and Nathan extended his lead. I mean, he had like a 240 point lead going into that race, and man, he just extended it. He had a great race. Ken Byron, the owner of Riko, he was in there with them. It was a 3-man team till about 15 laps to go, and Ken got wrecked out, and then Jay and Cody just dominated the rest of it and got first and second. And Jay pushed Cody to the win. So yeah, Cody's just extending his lead there, and he's doing great there in Be Open.
Well, I heard you got their setup. You bought their setup.
I did buy the Riko set. I tell you, I'm going to give a shout out to Riko real quick as we transition over, as we kind of wrap up the Be Open talk, is that I personally, I'm going to tell you, we have a lot of team sets that I really like. I like better than anything out there, and I race them a lot. However, on road courses in particular, I find Riko has been the fastest that I could buy from a setup shop for the last 2 or 3, 4 road courses we've been to or more. And so I'll pick up their road course sets about every time. And Trace, me and you, I got into it, and I started asking you questions. This was at Road Atlanta or Road America. And I said, I started talking about some changes I want to make. And I'm not going to tell you what it was, but you suggested I make one change. And I did. Well, I played around with it. I made several changes that one setting, but I did. And first of all, using the Riko set, I shaved 1.5 seconds off my time. But after I made that one change that we had talked about, that parameter, dude, I shaved another 2 seconds off my lap time. I got clear down to 2 minute and 15 second lap times. And I started at like 2:19, 2:20. And I did that off the Riko set with one change to one setting. Just played around with the values. I got it right. So, I mean, I tell you what, I like the road course Riko sets. And then the other thing is I've noticed we were at, I think the last time I bought one of their sets before this week on an oval was Darlington. And then I bought it in Atlanta. And I've noticed the last few times I bought from them, they're doing different stuff than the other setup shops. Because right now I'm subscribing to Maconi, Pay to Win, and then I bought that set from Riko this week. And, it seems like the other shops are all doing the same kind of stuff, and especially at Darlington, different places, but Riko has been doing some out of the box stuff sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. So anyway, if the other stuff's not working for you guys and you want to try something that might be different to what everybody else is doing, something outside of the box thinking, try them out in the Be Open. I don't know about the rest of this stuff, but I can just tell you what I bought.
They do make life easier, that's for sure. So they are definitely working over there. I don't take
Ken's
credit
got that new software. Ken's got that new software.
Yeah, I don't take credit. I mean, I just made a creature comfort adjustment for you. That was my only suggestion, and it did work out for you, and that's good. But the majority of that was all on them. I'm not going to take any of that. So, but like I said, they do tend to make it easy, so you can just make a tweak here and a tweak there. And from a setup shop standpoint, that's kind of what you want. You're going to groom these setups to what you like, and that's the whole thing. It's not one-stop shopping. It didn't work, I'm going to go buy something else. It may be just something as simple as that. And if you're not open-minded to that, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the work that they actually did. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then, like we always say, check the notes, see where it came from.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I will say there was a.
Now watch where you're going here.
Not this week. But and this is all I'm going to mention about it, because I checked and they weren't the same. So I'm just going to let it be. But there's a place I'm not going to mention the name of, because I'm not convinced they copied anything. But at Road America, I had a setup that I got that I purchased that in the notes, it had VRS in the notes, but it was not from VRS. It was from somewhere else. However, I took the VRS sets because I had them from this time and the previous time that we were there, and they weren't the same. They were enough different to where if that hadn't have been in the notes, I would have never known they had anything to do with each other. So, and this particular setup that had it in the notes was published and came out before VRS released their set this time. So what I would guess is that the builder's been around iRacing for a long time, and him or his team or somebody had a VRS set at one point that they have tweaked and done different stuff to and made 10 zillion different versions of, and just never ever checked the notes and never ever took it out. And it's this guy's, it is this guy's setup at this point because there's been so many changes to it, but nobody ever checked the notes and it was left there. Is
what
my
was
guess.
About pay to win this week on Atlanta? They posted one.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was a whole different thing. So yeah, Robert. So pay to win. So pay to win was late getting their set out for B Atlanta, and then I mean it was like, and so anyway I ended up downloading it, and it was like right before the race, maybe a couple hours before the race, and I downloaded it and I loaded it up, and everything was red, like nothing passed tech. Like it was like, I was like, what in the world? And what I realized was because I have been around pay to win for a long time and subscribed to him for a long time. They took, and it said Ty Stevens built the set. I don't even know if he's affiliated with them anymore. I don't know. Well, I think they took the set from the last time and just re-uploaded it from the last time we were in Atlanta, which theoretically would work, but
Not knowing they changed the chassis.
But they changed the track and they changed the chassis. So I don't know at what point, but I checked like the next day, and I think they had one up for the new track with the intermediate, with the super speedway chassis. But I thought that was hilarious. I had to have been embarrassing for him. Like
I'm sure you weren't the only one that noticed.
I'm sure.
Everything's red. Everything's red. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, I mean that and
complaint.
Well, not only that, but it makes you wonder, right? So like how often do they do that? Just take last season's set and just repost it for people and put a new name on it.
Well, this year, it's been a while since we had a tire change, and we can run the same set. I think last year and a half now, something like that.
Yeah, we have been able to.
And
minor tweaks if needed.
Yeah, and because they hadn't had a tire change, I hope they don't make another tire change because everything's fine the way it is.
Well, not Nathan,
but I think people are mailing. The setup guys are just mailing their stuff in. Here you go. It worked last year.
Right.
This year.
Well, because they haven't changed much in the car in the last year and a half. So Nathan, that wasn't a comment. Like, I wonder how often they do it. Like necessarily if a bad thing. If they have like the fastest set in the world last time and it's still fast, then why not? Right. But it's the idea that the customers that buy every single week think they're getting something updated, and they may have the old set. So why would not just pay to win, but any shop? I mean, why would you want to pay for something you already have if you already have it? Because they're thinking that it's been updated. So that somebody might get a little salty over that. But yeah, I wonder how many people I wonder how many emails they got over that Atlanta deal. That was hilarious.
I think in that situation, if it was, I'm not, a setup shop builder or anything like that, but if the setup was the same from the last season, then it should probably be said somewhere that like, hey, don't buy this again, or even just say like, this is last season's set, we still feel like it's fine. And then there's also the fact that like I feel like most setup builders are always looking for improvements, so like even if it is the fastest setup, they're going to change something to see if it's better.
Yeah, we have guys that change it every day or twice a day before they race.
No, I don't. I usually find something I'm fast with, unless there's an issue. I just leave it alone. But I'll tell you one place that I like the way they did it though, Nathan, and they actually did what you said kind of. So when I bought, again, when I was talking about buying the Riko at Darlington this last time we were there, I had a good Darlington set, and in fact I ended up using it. So anyway, even though I bought the Riko set, I didn't use it. I raced it like one time and just felt like I did some like 30 lap averages and just felt like the team set we'd had for a while was faster. So I raced the Riko set in like one race. However, when it comes to what you're talking about letting people know, I respect what they did. they had like 3 race setups in the package and like 1 or 2 qual sets in the download pack, the setup pack you got. And they had 2 new ones and they were labeled new. They were labeled like, 2021 season 1 or 2, or 2022 season 1 or 2, whatever it was in. I think it was maybe season 2 we were there. And then they gave you a 3rd race set and it was from the last time we were there. And they even put it in the notes. Like we're including what we felt like was the best setup from the last time. Some of the guys still like it and maybe you'll like it too. Right. And so they included their best one from the last time and 2 new ones. And I thought that was really cool. That way, if somebody hadn't bought before the last time, they got that one as an option too. So if you do something like that, yeah, I think that's actually kind of cool.
I always thought, I was with Riko for a season or 2, and I always thought Ken was always really good with how he dealt with the, I guess the common sense things as far as interactions and how the customer deals with, or, just dealings with the customer like that. I always felt Ken was pretty good with that. So that doesn't surprise me.
And I'll tell you one thing I like about Kenny. He obviously is a business. I think it's his primary way of making money, and he takes it real seriously. He takes it more seriously than any other setup shop owner I know. He is intense over there, but I think he genuinely wants to help the community too. He put a bunch of money into building this new performance app. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Maybe we'll have Ken on here in the next few weeks to actually talk about that app, but they just put it out where you can actually get the telemetry off their team drivers and see the telemetry for their team drivers and the setups that they're running and stuff. And it also is a download manager, which makes it easier to download your stuff. And he didn't have to do that, but he spent a ton of money to do it. And he said he really wanted to help out the community and make it better and stuff for his customers and stuff. And I think he I don't know how much money, he put a decent amount of money in it. He's been talking about it for a while. He just made me promise I wouldn't disclose anything about it until it was released. And I didn't, I'll honor that kind of stuff. Somebody tells me that, but yeah, so I really, I like Ken. I told him once before, I don't know if I'd ever want to race for him because of how intense he is. It's like, I don't know if I'm that dedicated at this point to something, but anyway, I personally, I like Ken a lot. He's always been nice to me and good to me and the channel here and stuff. So I tell you what, Trace, I'm just going to throw everything over to you for the remainder of the podcast. We'll put you in control. I know you got a lot to talk about, Nathan. You got some big news you want to tell everybody. So Trace, why don't you have at it, man?
Well, first off, I want to welcome Nathan back to the podcast. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. When we last left off, you were had made pro or was able to become a pro for the qualifying. And what I want to do, Nathan, is I want you to go back to where we left off, give people a little bit of a refresher of what you had just accomplished, and then now where you're at and what you had to do to get there. That's what I'm interested in. I'm fascinated. It sounded like in the pre-production, it was a great little journey, but I just want to get your side of the story. So, hey, have at it. It's all you now.
Well, I think the last time that I was on, they had just announced the Pro Series, which in turn meant they were doing another Pro qualifying series. And so from there, it had been, a year and a half since I had joined, and that was always the goal. I just didn't know if it was ever going to happen, if I was ever even going to get the shot. And so whenever they announced it, it was just practicing and getting ready from there. And then I did the podcast, and it was about, getting ready for the Pro qualifying series and how that worked, where, it was an official series that was top 20 in points that got the pro license. And so, yeah, we did the 6-week Pro qualifying series. And
now, what was that time frame? When were you doing the 6-week program? Do you remember? Was it like April?
The first week was May 2nd. And okay. So it was 6 straight weeks with 1 drop week. And then I think about a good month and a half break. And then we pick up, now we're here, and 2 weeks from tomorrow, we start the Pro Series itself. I got the pro license.
Okay. What night does that air? So if somebody's interested in watching that, when can we pick that up and find it?
That is every Monday night. 1 week that isn't, I think it's like an off week. So like 11 weeks with 1 week off. Every Monday night, 8:45 Eastern, so 7:45 my time. And it's live, just like any other Pro Series on iRacing. You got live on their Twitch, live on their YouTube, and live on Facebook. and it'll probably be a little, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half little deal, because it's qualifying or practice, qualifying, 4 heats, consolation or B main or whatever you want to call it, and then another little warm up, and then a 50 lap feature.
So how many guys are you racing against now?
So there was 15 pros that kept their license from the last one, and then 20 new qualifiers. It kind of worked out a little bit differently, but it'll be 35 people in each session. I think only 24 go to the no, I think it's only 20 go to the feature. So 15 drivers not making it into a feature.
That's almost 50%. That's rough, dude. Making that show.
So, and you look, me personally, I look through the list of the drivers that, are in, and it's like any of these guys, even just in the pro qualifiers, any of those guys could have won any of those races. So like, to be able to think that, I'm going to outrun someone just for a starting spot in the feature, but that's not the goal. That's not the goal. Like a guy, Dylan Hauser, said, he used to be a pro. He said a lot of people make the pro series and that's their goal, is to just make the features. And that's not my goal. That's not my goal at all. I want to be up there near the front, and I want to perform.
You want to be a household name.
Yeah. So I think you limit yourself where you set your goals at. So
absolutely.
If I set my goal to win every single race, then, making the feature ain't nothing. But if I set my goal to make the feature, then that's all I'll do. So
yeah,
that's not
pretty
the goal.
Wild, Nathan. I mean, that's different than the way the rest of the pro series work, as far as like
Right.
the NASCAR side, because pretty much if you make one of those, you pretty much got a charter spot. I mean, you're in, right? They take the top 40, I think, and don't they grid all 40 trace or something like that? However many they take, whether it's 40 or 36.
Yeah, I don't.
40.
Yeah, they've got just enough guys to fill the shows. What they got,
right? And but you guys, you got you're 15 guys that's not going to make the race. I mean, that's wild.
It's like any other real life, World of Outlaws race, where you have however many people want to, show up to the track, but they're only taking this many people to the show. So you got to race your way in. So that's
you got to race with a purpose. That's
so you have like heat. So you have like heat and eliminating from heat races. Is that how it works too?
Yeah. So 4 heat races. I think it's top 4 advance from the heat directly to the feature, and then everyone else that didn't make it in through the heats will be in the B main, B feature, consolation race, whatever you want to call it. And I think so 4 times 4 is 16. So yeah, they take the top 4 out of the B main, and then they go through the 50 lap feature.
Okay. So, now that's that format, because I followed the sprint car portion of that, and that's what they do. Now here's my question. So okay, so is anybody crossed over from sprint cars into late models? Who are the names? Who would we be looking for if I was to watch one of the races? I mean, who are the good guys?
So the 2 guys, in my opinion, who are some of the best in the world in late models here recently on the last sprint cars, made the pro series for sprint cars as well, and they did all right in it. Blake Majulis and Evan C. You'll be looking for them in the late models because they're already in. Dylan Yeager, another really good, really solid driver. He'll be in there. He'll be one to watch. He was in the sprint cars. Alex Bergeron.
I was going to ask you about him. Now he was
a household name.
Yeah, he's a Coca-Cola guy, because the team that I was with, yeah, he was. Because we were looking to pick him up, and this is going back 5 years, and when he was just a kid, but we were looking to pick him up for the Coca-Cola series, because he was bouncing from team to team. And if I remember right, I think he's from Canada. But anyways,
he is,
yeah,
and
he's phenomenal.
He's also a pro dirt road driver, and Alex Bergeron's really good. There's no denying it. So watch for him. See, I think James Edens is in there. He's a really good sprint car driver. I haven't raced against him much in late models, so I guess we'll find out. Felix Roy, another wheelman. He's a dirt road pro. Was a pro in the sprint cars, and he made pro series for late models. He's really solid. I feel like there's a couple more, but it's hard to think of them off the top of my head. But
Right.
yeah, I mean,
So-
there's a lot of crossover guys. I think it's it was different back in the day, like whenever they were all on this old tire model and now they're all on a new tire model. I think it changed a lot. I think there will be a more, you'll see more specialist drivers now, where there's guys that are really, really good in sprint cars and guys that are really, really good in late models, and less of a crossover because they're so much different now.
Now, are you still more of a driver than a setup guy? When I remember
Still-
last time we talked, you had a guy who was working with the team
Yeah.
as your setups and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I got a shout out to Damien at Apex Industries. Damien Kiefer, he's the late model setup builder. He also made Pro Series. You know, I'm very happy for him as well. He's helped me a ton, man. I mean, not just setups, just from, you know,
Driver development
even
and stuff.
driver development. I mean, you wouldn't think, but yeah, like even at this level, you know, still learning every single time I get on, and he's, you know, teaching, and, you know, we're still practicing and trying to get better. So Damien qualified and made the Pro Series, and I'm really happy for him, and he puts out some great sets, you know, on Apex Industries. So
Now, I have a couple questions for you. First, are you guys allowed spotters during the racing, or is it just by feel?
are you talking about like the iRacing official spotter?
No,
inter-
like you can have somebody in Discord, like as your actual spotter.
Yeah.
So
Are
you
you
guys-
for
you
the
guys
Pro
have
Series itself?
Yes,
Or
yes, for the Pro Series.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I didn't
I'm
know-
not sure. It's a closed league now on for the late model in the Sprint Car Pro Series. They recently moved it to a closed league. So I don't know if we'll have spotters. I doubt it, actually.
Okay, I'm just curious because for like the Coca-Cola series, you were allowed the actual spotters. So, you know, instead of
Yeah.
having just iRacings. So I'm curious, let me know if once you find out about that. But the last thing is, how, at this level, is it more setup dependent or more driver dependent, you think, on at this level? Because you race on some seriously brutal conditions.
I honestly don't know, because here's the thing. They just came out, iRacing just came out with a new series for Dirt Oval. You've got the late model tour and the sprint car tour, and they're fixed. Both of them are fixed. And I've seen some really high level name guys run it in the late models. And I've ran it too. And all of us, like high level, you know, pro level guys that are running in that late model tour, we're still up front. We're still battling for positions just like we would be in open setups, but it's fixed. So I can't really tell, man. It's definitely, you know, I think a good setup. It's more, I think, of preference, just like with your oval stuff, you know, whether or not you like a car a little tighter or a little loose, or, you know, you want it to react this way on entry and this way on exit, or, you know, vice versa. I think it's more so preference. If you're fast, you're still going to be fast, but having a setup that fits your preference and your driving style will be much more beneficial.
Right. Well, and something that we fall into a lot of in the B is there's such a variance in what type of track you're on versus what type of chassis. And that throws a lot of discrepancy. And that's why I was asking. And prime example was this particular week where everybody ran Atlanta. Normally it would be an intermediate chassis because it was 1.5 miles. But in this particular case, iRacing made it so you could actually use the super speedway chassis with the new updates and build that they did for that track. So not having experience in the late models and sprint cars in terms of a lot of setup, I didn't know if there was a big variance that iRacing throws out, you know, at certain tracks. They change like the front ballast settings, like the minimum settings or that kind of stuff to alleviate that, or if you're on one chassis the whole time.
You're on one chassis the whole time. We actually, here at Apex, we run pretty similar setups, you know,
Between
track to
drivers?
track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, even like I've always joked with Damien's the late model setup builder, and Colin is the Colin Bocus. one of my best friends is the big block setup builder. And I've always joked with both of them that, like, I just send I race what you send me. Like, I don't look at it. I just run it, man. So it could be, it doesn't matter. And I think a lot of us guys on the team, we just run what we're sent, I mean, there may be some guys that might try to change the gear or, something here and there, but I think we all just kind of run what we're sent.
Okay, that's good. It kind of lets you focus on your
Nathan.
racing.
We're kindred spirits, man. I'm trying. Tracy knows I've been dabbled a bit. I've been trying. In fact, I ran in Nashville Fairgrounds. I ran this set for the first time that I kind of tweaked a bit myself, on my own. I had Tracy help me a bit with it, on what I needed to change. So this is what I wanted to do, and and he helped me change a little bit. But in the past, I've always just kind of raced what people give me, and it's like you said, like there are some things you can do. And this is on the oval side, on the asphalt side. There's some things with camber and toe, like to get some speed and some, long run speed and stuff that won't burn the tires as much. But other than some of that stuff, the way you set it up is sometimes preference, how you like it to feel. And I just drove what I was given. And for instance, I used to race for pay to win with David Lamb when he first started it for the first year or so. And I was fast with their stuff. And then we picked up somebody on our team who raced in a league with us. His name was Doug Bell, and he started building. He was a great builder, and when he first wanted me to switch to his setups, he built them to enter the turn differently and exit a bit differently. And I was slower with him at first. He's like, Mike, no. And he had to take the time to show me how to drive it. And I ended up being faster. His was faster. I just had to drive it differently. And then the same thing now, I'm so used to driving the way he builds, even though he's not on our team anymore. We still use a lot of his stuff as our bases that we build from and stuff most of the time. And so when I pick up a setup shop set, I'm slower with it. And I think I'd be faster if I learned how to drive it the way their drivers drive it. But the thing is, I'm still driving the way that our team setups are built,
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of it is once you got a fast setup, a lot of it is how you like to, how you like to enter the
I
turn,
just get in it and drive. Oh, I'm going too fast in the corner. I slow it down the next time.
I always tell Colin and Damian, like, I know that what they make is good. I know that what they make, they can win on. So if I'm not winning on it, it's probably on me. So that's what I always tell them is, like, they ask me, oh, how did it feel? I'm like, it felt good. I mean, I didn't win, or maybe I didn't, win by as much as they wanted me to, or as much as I wanted to. And they're wanting some feedback. And I'm like, if it wasn't, looking like it was doing right, it was probably on me, because, I'm not perfect, and I know that what they make is good. So I feel like I've very rare, like I could probably count on one hand how many times I've given feedback on a setup, because I always try to put the blame on myself. The only time I even tinker with the setup really is, like, I'll change something to tighten it or loosen it, like the axle lead or something, for if the track looks like it's getting a little slicker, than my setup. Like, say I want to run a qualifying setup for a heat race, but the heat race is looking kind of slick and the qualifying setup is for a tacky track, a hooked up track. I might tighten it up a little bit so that I don't have to make too many changes. Or if I'm having to work my way from the back of the field to the front, I might make the car a little bit looser so that I can try to maneuver around the track without it being so tight. That's all I really do.
All right. See, you're talking stuff I don't even know yet. Axle lead and all that stuff. I got to learn all that stuff yet. So, but that's good coming from you. All right. We kind of jumped ahead a little bit. We went right to where you're at right now, but.
Well, wait. Well, let's talk about when he found out that he was going to make it or not make it in the pro.
Well, that's where I was going right now. Yeah. I wanted to get back to your qualifying and your experiences from, the first race all the way up through to where you got today. That's what I want to know about.
Well, it was nerve-wracking, I can tell you that. We didn't really know what to expect. I know I said it in the first podcast. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what to expect for points-wise. Like, we were throwing out guesses like, okay, they're taking top 20 in points, and this is like an official series. So, top split maybe getting this many points for this position. Well, what does, second split get in that same position, for the finish, and so on and so forth. So, like, I was assuming, I was going to guess, like, say, if you finish 10th, if you average finish 10th, in every single race in top split, that should put you top 20 in points. And after the first week, it was 7th in top split, was the last person in the top 20 in points. So, but for as far as the race went, man, the first week was a super tough track, Kokomo. Took a lot of practice. Actually, now it's like one of my strongest tracks. Like, I love that track now. Like, I put so much practice in just for that one, first pro qualifier race, that now it's a very strong track of mine. But
Is
it
Kokomo
was,
the one that's kind of D-shaped?
yeah,
That's
it's
what I thought.
a
And so the
bull
turns are
ring.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. The back stretch has an opening in the wall.
Yes.
I've hit it a couple of times.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was the first race, the first pro qualifier race at Kokomo top split. We only had one caution, and it was because some guy in the back hit that opening in the wall and spun himself out. And that was the only caution. That was another surprising thing, that there was hardly any cautions. Like, I think we had a total of 6 or 7 cautions through 6 races. But
Well,
so
that's
the
how
first
races
race
should be. That's how the races should be.
Yeah. I mean, it's top split. We should be the cleanest, I mean, we should be the fastest, the cleanest, and, so on and so forth, but doesn't always work out that way. But, yeah, man,
you'd be amazed in oval racing and the asphalt oval side how much that doesn't work out.
Right.
Robert likes to talk in the Monday night broadcast we do with the high strength of field race on Monday night. He's like, there's a lot of egos in this room.
There's a lot of egos for sure.
Well, sometimes those egos cause wrecks.
Yeah. So first race, the nerves, man. I never really get all that nervous, but I was feeling it a little bit. I went out in practice. I think I was fastest in practice, which kind of surprised me. Because I mean, there was all the huge names that weren't pros. Like every high level guy that wasn't already a pro was in there. So it was every single person that could win that race was in there. And so I was fastest in practice, and I went out and I was like, I don't know what I really want to do for qualifying. And then I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go qualify. And I qualified. I ended up qualifying 5th, I qualified 5th. Started the heat race, man. That was the only time I've ever felt lightheaded before a race. I was so nervous. I got a little bit lightheaded, I gotta admit, but we made it through it. I think I finished 2nd in the heat, so I started 3rd in the race. Ended up finishing 5th in that race, so I was feeling really good after week 1.
I was gonna say that had to calm the nerves for sure.
Oh, a ton, almost too much, because 2nd week, it was 1 week right after the other, no breaks or nothing. So, well, another thing that I should mention was that it was kind of good how some of the races worked out. Some of the pro qualifiers, the whole week before, the open setup super late models were at that track that the pro qualifier was going to be at on Monday. So we got a whole week of practice of official racing up until Monday. But that worked. That was how it was for Kokomo, and I think for Weedsport, Williams Grove, and Charlotte. So I think all but 2 tracks, we got a good week of official racing practice in. So the 2nd week was, I believe, at Cedar Lake. And Cedar Lake has never really been one of my strongest tracks. And I felt good. I was starting to feel pretty good. We qualified, and turn 1 and 2, I was feeling good. I actually felt like I was hitting a really fast lap, and then went into 3 and 4, and the nose just pushed, and it killed my lap. I think I qualified near the back somewhere. Had to work my way through the consolation race, and then I think I finished 13th. So that wasn't a good finish.
Reality sucks.
Yeah, that one I was feeling pretty disappointed with. And then the very next week, I-55 didn't have the week of official racing practice before. We just kind of had to host races and get practice in that way. I-55 is a very tricky little track, very high bank, very fast, and I was feeling pretty good. I've done really well at I-55, and I honestly had a really fast lap going. Like, probably would have qualified 9th or 10th. Coming out of turn 4, I come up near the wall and I barely tap the wall, crossing the start finish line to, to take the white flag for my second qualifying lap. It discarded both of my qualifying laps. So
Oh,
I was scored next to dead last in qualifying out of 26 drivers. And only in the official races, like for the pro qualifying series, only the top 18 or, only 18 drivers make the feature. So I had to start, I think, dead last in my heat. I think I made up a couple of spots, but I had to run the consolation race. I barely got in. I think I started dead last in the heat or in the feature, and I made my way up to 12th. So technically, in the grand scheme of things, it was a decent night. I made up a lot of spots. I went
Sweating
from
bullets.
yeah, I qualified like 25th and finished 12th, so it felt pretty good to looking back on it. It looks pretty good, but from the high of finishing 5th in week 1 and then week 2 and 3 didn't go all that well. I was starting to get a little nervous because things weren't really going all that well. I think I was still sitting all right in points, maybe like 26th. So I knew, if I could string together some good runs, I'd be all right, hopefully. So week 4, we went to Weed Sport. Have you seen Weed Sport?
I've been there. Yeah, I know what it looks like.
Yeah. So Weed Sport is another tricky little track, but I feel like during the qualifying series, I did better at the little tricky tracks than the more normal tracks. Weed Sport, I think I qualified 9th, started the feature 7th because I gained a position in the heat, and I was riding 7th the whole race. I was contending, trying to get around the guy in 6th. Had pretty decent battle with him, just could never get around him. My spotter, Robbie, was telling me with about 5 laps to go, he was like, I know you want 6th, but you're sitting in a really good points position right here. You're in 7th. Just relax. You ain't got to really push this guy for one more spot. Just take 7th. And I was like, all right, that's a good point. I don't want to, lose everything fighting
that's what
for
I
one
need
position.
Sometimes too. It's like,
Right.
hey, it's okay. It's like
Right.
you don't need that extra spot because I'll go for it unless I got somebody in my ear telling me that.
Right. So he told me that, and I was like, all right, well, come into the white flag. There had been a rut that had developed coming out of turn 4 on kind of on the front stretch, and coming to take the white flag, I hit that rut just absolutely the worst way possible, and it throws my car completely sideways. I am now facing the front stretch wall, just looking at it. And thankfully, the guy in 8th hit my right rear quarter panel and knocked me back around facing straight. And I was able to get back going and hold on to 10th. I messaged him after the race. I was like, dude, if you wouldn't have hit me, I would have finished dead last. There was nowhere I could have went. I would have just had to sit there because I was literally facing the wall. My nose was on the wall. So that was kind of a double-edged sword, I guess, or a yin yang, whatever, because I could have had 7th. That was 60 points that I lost from finishing 10th instead of finishing 7th. That was 60 championship points that I lost. But I really could have lost all of it without, him hitting me. So that was probably the most eventful part of the whole qualifying series. Williams Grove, I thought I had a pretty good qualifying lap going. That was the next to last qualifier race. I thought I had a good qualifying lap going. Turns out it wasn't. Started near the back. I think I won the consolation race in that one. I basically rode around in like 12th or 13th that whole race. I think I finished 12th. But it all came down to the last one, Charlotte. It wasn't how I wanted it to be, man. I didn't want to have all this pressure on me on the last race to like really have to perform in order to qualify, but that was how it worked. So I knew that I had to really nail qualifying because qualifying was so important in this qualifying series. I mean, I think most of the time, if you looked at the results, nobody really moved all that much in the features from where they started. So where you started really mattered a ton. I think I ended up qualifying 7th, something like that. And I rode around in 5th or 6th the whole race at what I before would have considered one of my worst tracks. But now I really enjoy Charlotte because I put in me and Damien, and shout out to Damien again. You know, he put in so much time with me to help me get better at Charlotte, especially for that last qualifier race. So it became a lot more comfortable to me, and I was able to bring home a solid run. And so after that, that was Monday night. After that, I think I was sitting 23rd in points, and they were only taking the top 20. But the whole time I had been hearing rumors, oh, you know, this guy's going to not keep his pro license, and, you know, so-and-so can't get in. And so the way it was working was that they were taking top 20 in points, and top 15 from the last pro series kept their pro license. But a couple of them were considering backing out. And there was no official word. There was nothing. So all I was hearing was rumors and people messaging me like, hey, man, you're going to get in. I know you're not in on points, but so-and-so is going to back out. And this guy was suspended at one point, so he can't get in, and you're in, man. Like, I'm like, I don't know yet. And you're just getting my hopes up. Like, it's killing me. I didn't officially make it in on points. And it wasn't this big sigh of relief, you know, immediately after the race that I saw, okay, I'm top 20 in points. It doesn't really matter. I'm in. So I was just nervous and couldn't, you know, stop thinking about it. Like, it was, you know, I was imagining, you know, what if I'm like the last guy or the first guy that doesn't get in?
First
you
guy
know,
bumped.
like,
Yep. Mhm.
yeah, you know, oh, okay, 2 pros didn't keep their license. They took top 22, and I'm 23rd in points. Like, that would have killed me.
You would be like first alternate or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Which it ended up, they took top 28 in points or something like that because of people getting suspended and other old pros, you know, relinquishing their license. But so that Monday night, you know, I was nervous, didn't know if I'd made it. Tuesday went by, I was messaging past pros, like I was talking to the other people that did make it in on points. I was like, have you gotten anything from iRacing yet? Like, I need to know if I missed it or not. Like, if you got the email and I didn't, I know that I didn't, you know, get in. And then Wednesday I was at work. It was about 11:30. I just walked out to go get some lunch, and I pulled out my phone and looked, and I saw that I had the email from iRacing, said congratulations. And
Oh, nice.
I'm telling you, man, like, I jumped as I was walking out of work for lunch. I jumped. I went out to my car. I yelled. I was so excited. I called my dad, and my dad's a huge supporter. He's I mean, they've, you know, helped me, you know, my dad helped me build this cockpit that I'm sitting in. I mean, my dad, you know, watches every chance he could get. You know, the pro qualifiers were broadcasted on YouTube. So they were watching at home, and he's always, you know, messaging me like, you know, good run, you know, or, you know, keep your head up, whatever. My dad's a huge supporter as well as my mom. And so I called my dad. I couldn't wait to tell him. And I called my dad. I was like, well, Dad, I'm a pro. And he was just so excited. And he told me how proud he was. He knew how much it meant to me. And I at that point, I lost it. I started crying. I'm not even going to lie. I started crying. I couldn't. I mean, it seems silly, but it means a lot. It's a goal that I've had for so long since I started before I started iRacing. I wanted to achieve this, and to finally get that little pro license, and to be able to say like, hey, you know, that I'm a pro now. And whenever he told me how proud he was, that meant the world to me. And my wife too, you know, I told her, and she was so happy. And crowd, and it was a very, very good Wednesday.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, man. I'm glad it ended well for you. Now we're excited for you in the Pro Series too. Don't forget us now that you're on national TV, you know.
Right? No, I won't. It's funny to think about it now, because like now I'm kind of used to it now. Like I still like seeing that little pro license emblem, but like now I know that, you know, that wasn't, you know, the end all be all last goal set. You know, now it's like, okay, now we have the actual Pro Series to run. Now we have, you know, real money at stake and real professional competition here that's still got to be done. You know, like Kobe Bryant said, job's not finished. So
right now, so now moving forward, you and your team. Now, do you have any seasoned pros that went through this before on the team or not? Or is everybody fairly new to this? Okay.
No, Damien has been around just about as long as I have. But so being around for just about as long as I have, he didn't get the chance to even attempt to qualify for the last Pro Series in late models. So we both went for it for the first time this season, and he made it as well. So, you know, big congratulations to Damien.
Good for him. Good for him. So at least you guys will have teammates, somebody you can work together with, share information, that kind of stuff. So how much preparation is going to go into it now? I mean, what do you do at this point in time? You just, I mean, I guess my question really should have been like, you had went through the whole series, you know, your weeks that you raced. How much of that was night racing, afternoon racing, that kind of stuff? Do they change it a lot on you there?
Are you talking about like the time of day that the actual qualifying race sessions was at?
Yes. Did they vary a lot? Or were they primarily night?
They kind of did. They kind of did. Like, I think the first one was an afternoon race. Cedar Lake was a sunset race. I-55 was a night race. Weed Sport was a day race. Williams Grove was an afternoon race, and Charlotte was a night race. So they mixed it up pretty well. Okay. But you know, we put in a lot of practice every single week for those, and you know, we're coming up. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks. 2 weeks until the Pro Series itself starts. So
okay, so we're 2 weeks out then. Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to be ramping up here soon.
Your setups are going to change as well. You're not be running the same setups as the same track.
Well, it's different tracks. All of the tracks that were on the pro qualifying schedule are on the Pro Series schedule, but you know, that was 6 weeks. This Pro Series is 10 weeks, so there's 4 extra tracks. The first track is Fairbury. It wasn't on the pro qualifying schedule. We're gonna have to probably tighten the setups up a lot. I mean, we already knew that. The track's gonna be way slicker than.
I was gonna say, what about the usage? Do they like run it up to 100% and have at it?
No, it's I think it's up in the air. I think we don't know yet. The last time that they did the Sprint Car Pro Series, I remember them talking about, well, they've changed it, or the commentators were actually talking like, oh, they've changed it up. You know, they've reset the track for the feature. So I don't know if we're going to be, you know, I know for a certain that we're going to run the track through all the way up until the feature. But I don't know if they're going to reset for the 50 lap feature or not. And I don't even know if they know if they're going to do it yet, but assuming, you know, 20 cars for 50 laps on a track, you know, even if it's fresh, we're going to have to make sure that the setup is dialed in and good for a late race push, with it being, you know, 20 cars for 50 laps. That's going to get very slick. So it's going to have to be pretty tight setup, even if they reset the track. So
how much fuel you got in a car for 50 laps? How much of those things used, you know?
Well, for Fairbury, I'd say 50 laps is probably going to be 12 gallons, maybe. Now, Fairbury's a little bull ring, little quarter-mile track. 50 laps at somewhere like Knoxville, a half-mile track. I think it's a half-mile track. That'd be about 14 or 16 gallons. So all of the races are 50 laps, so the fuel will just vary depending on the size of the track.
I was just thinking, because you don't have any pit stops or nothing, and you're gonna be
Right.
carrying that right at the beginning on a slick track. I'm sure you guys are gonna have your hands full with that.
It-
That's gotta be totally different setups.
You put the fuel in, and you, for a slick track, if the track starts slick and you've got all that fuel in there, it does make it a very boat feeling ride. You're having to toss around all that weight, whereas
Can you really
once-
feel the sloshing of the gas?
it definitely feels like it wants to sway more. It feels like it wants to come around easier, even
Kind of
Even
wallers
like-
around.
right. It's like a boat, like if you were to load in and just for your own sense of testing it out, if you were to load in and create a test session and set the track state all the way to 100% on dirt, we're talking dirt here in a late model, and you have 15 or 16 gallons in, and you start that car, the track's not going to wear out any because it's already completely worn out. So it's going to be stupid slick, and it's going to be very worn out. It's not going to wear any different. You will definitely feel how much the car will change with less fuel in it as you keep making laps. Like at first, it's going to be very, easy to let it step out on you because that fuel is just going to try to push the rear end around. Whereas later on in the race, it becomes a little bit easier to manage. At least in my experience, it does. But maybe that's just a placebo, and maybe I'm just, as the race goes on, I get more comfortable and more into a rhythm.
And on the pavement here, we worry about the weight. We might have to change our brake bias, because now,
Right.
Same thing with you guys.
Well, no, not with brake
Yeah,
bias.
you don't use brake bias. Yeah, what's brakes?
Right. We keep that right front brake disconnected.
Yeah,
Might
right.
as well disconnect all of them.
Brakes are for stopping, not for racing, right?
Right. Exactly. I only need that right pedal.
Right. The loud pedal. There you go.
There you go.
And that's something. Now you said something to me the last podcast we had with you because I wanted to learn about it, and you mentioned one of the guys that's a streamer. I think it was Justin Norwood, if I remember correct.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I noticed from him, and I'm sure it's a lot of you guys too, for the most part, you guys never hit 100%. You guys operate in that 60 to 80% throttle range and just go like madmen. And that's the part that I find totally amazing, is because you guys are just sailing along, and a lot of times you're rim riding. That's the biggest thing I noticed. And it's like, you guys are running lines I could never imagine even doing. I'd probably be knocking walls down doing that stuff.
Well, I mean, even now, like if I was to show, the me that started iRacing what I can do now, I'd be so amazed. Not that I'm trying to brag or anything, but like it just takes a lot of practice. Like it is pretty cool what I am able to do now at such a fine line of wrecking, or eating the wall, which I still do. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we do. We just ride around in 60 to 80%.
I heard like Haley Deacon said you don't really want to full throttle it because you're just spinning your tires. You're not 75% or something like that she's driving at.
If it's slick, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, if the track's tacky, I mean, the more throttle you can give it, the better. But once it gets slick, you're really, I mean, we even restrict the engines. Like we restrict power down up to, I think the most we'll restrict it down is 8%, 8% off of 100%. So like 92% power. So like we'll even restrict the power. We're, making sure that we don't get over a certain amount of throttle. I mean, I might
is that in the
it.
settings in the setup in the garage? To
Setup,
restrict
yeah.
power?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's under it's not the first page with the tire pressures and stagger. It's the second
Chassis.
page on the very top. Yeah,
I've seen it.
chassis
I've
page.
seen it one time in pavement. Well, I've seen it up there one time. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can only do it in supers, super late models.
They don't allow it on all tracks
Can you-
on Infinity either.
Can you do that in the sprint cars as well, Trace or
No.
Nathan?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
No, not the
It's just
sprints.
those 410s are wild, man. They got a lot of horsepower in those things.
But they got a lot
Yeah.
more. They got a lot more downforce.
They
A
do.
lot more downforce.
So
Um,
Nathan Sieber Sim Sports put a message in the chat and said, "I'm ready for the Pro Series. Need to get to work though. Good luck, Nate."
Yeah, Sieber. There's a lot of guys that I was very happy to see make the Pro Series just because they're great guys. I've always enjoyed racing against them. Damian, he's a teammate. Of course, I'm happy to see him, but I've always enjoyed racing against him. Justin Norwood, he made it as well. I don't know if you noticed that, Tracy.
No, I was going to ask you if he was in.
Yeah, Norwood made it in. He made it in on points. He did really well the whole time. Sieber,
do you know him by chance? Do you know Norwood?
I mean, not personally, but yeah, I've talked to him many times talked to him many times on Discord. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Are there some guys you're glad that didn't make it in?
I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to comment on that one. No, I mean, a lot of the guys that made it. I mean, Joe Cease made it in. I've talked to him a couple of times. Is a good guy. I'm happy to see he made it in. Ben Countermarsh made it in. I was happy to see Dylan Yeager made it in. Felix Roy. Barrett Bishop's always been cool to talk to. He made it in. He actually was the champion of the points. Let me see if I could. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to pull up who all made it in, but just a lot of the guys that made it in, I was really happy to see make it in. Sieber has always been cool, and you know, shout out to Sieber. He's definitely someone I was proud to see make it in.
That'll give us some names to look for when we go watching the podcast or the streams too.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool, man.
It's very, very cool. It's you know, it turns a lot of heads. It's gotten me a lot of job offers. A lot of women knocking at my door now.
I see the line out there.
Yeah, no.
I see the line out there, man.
Sponsorship deals, man. I mean, I get all sorts of free stuff now. It's
well, you got that hat. You got that hat.
I did, yeah. That was actually.
Well, hey, if you get an extra butt kicker, send it my way. Robert's been talking it up a lot.
I will, if I even get one myself.
Well, yeah, I'm saying if you get one yourself and you just got an extra one just sitting there in your pile of stuff that people are just sending you now. I mean, I know what that. I mean, I'm becoming a media mogul, so I just got all kinds of free stuff just sitting there waiting for me to review. I know how it is.
Right.
So if in that pile you get, you know, if you get an extra one, just
the butt kicker even makes my force feedback on my wheel feel different.
Really,
it makes it feel stronger when the butt kicker gets overheated. It quits working. It's been my wheel is so easy to turn now. I don't know. It really is.
When you turn it up like Robert does, you got to hang on for dear life. Anyways,
I'm glad it's off to the side because I had to reach down and I can touch it. Oh, it's too hot. I got to turn it down a little bit.
Robert, I tell you, I found the opposite. I've raced some F3 races, and the track's been a little bumpy, you know, and I've been going around and this, like, I've had the force feedback up real high, and like it jerks my body, like my arms are attached, and this force feedback so strong, like it's a bump or something. My whole body moves almost.
It's
like
just turning the wheel in general. Just like, you know, the bumps are still there, but turning the wheel in general is lighter without the butt kicker.
No, I'm saying I don't need a butt kicker. That wheel, that DD1 that jerked me so much with that.
Oh, that vibration on the seat. Oh, it's wonderful.
Oh my goodness.
Goofy.
Oh, Trace, man. We're coming up on that midnight marker there.
Bewitching hour, yep.
Yeah, you got to work in the morning. So you guys want to, anything else you guys want to talk with Nathan before we close this thing out?
I just want to know, Nathan, what you want to close the show, man? Who do you want to thank? I mean, what do you got going here? Let us know what your last thoughts are.
Well, first, I want to thank y'all for letting me come back on. You know, we said in the last one that, you know, kind of win or lose, I was coming back to talk about it. So I appreciate y'all letting me come back on and talk about it.
At least you're smiling and not crying, you know?
Yeah, at least I came back with good news. So yeah, thanks for letting me come back on. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Got to thank, first and foremost, well, y'all were first and foremost. Second most, my wife, you know, she supports me and I spend a lot of time on here, man. I spend a ton of time on here. And I want more, you know, I always want to be practicing more. So I appreciate all the sacrifice that she does that allows me to be on here as much as I am. And the support, my parents, you know, they're amazing. I don't think I could have ever asked for better parents, and they're so supportive in this as well. Apex Industries right here. Yeah. I love the hat.
Now does
I
Apex
really,
sell their stuff? Are they selling?
yes,
setups?
yes, we
Okay.
sell setups.
What's
Yeah,
that? Is there a
they-
website?
Yes,
Yeah, they're
Apex
advertised on-
Industries, apexindustries.us.
Okay.
For the setups. Also, in Waddell 15 for 15% off at checkout. But yeah, no, everybody at Apex Industries, you know, ever since I joined them, they've been so supportive, so friendly,
Is
just
this
a
gonna, is
great
this
group.
gonna lead to real life racing?
God, I'd hope so. Man, I really hope so. That's the end goal anyways. I've always said iRacing just scratches the itch, but this has turned into something a lot more serious than I thought it would.
You know,
But
it happened at iRacing and some of the pros, some of the guys that are in Cup right now. You know, people met
Mhm.
them. Junior met some of them, and Kowalski and Brian and some of the other guys are in there racing now. They got their way
Yeah.
started at iRacing.
I'd love to, but you know, well, it's expensive, so maybe
Well,
I win 10K and
no, well, that's what the sponsors for. They hire you just to race. Yeah,
yeah, get butt kicker put on the car.
that's right. That's
Um,
right.
So yeah, no, all the guys at Apex, you know, Logan Gill specifically, he's the one who got us all these hats. Shout out
Nice.
to Logan. We partnered with HSR, a team that he's on. The HSR guys are a bunch of great guys. You know, we all joke and have fun, and everybody at Apex, we all joke and have fun. You know, Colin has always been my biggest supporter on iRacing and my biggest motivator. Colin's like a brother to me now, and you know, he was also so proud to see that I made it in, and that was really cool because we've kind of came up together. Got to
Well,
thank
we need
Damien.
it. We need a dirt affiliate link, so have him get a hold of us. To have Mike put something down there so we can get some dirt stuff.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
and
and-
Waddell 15.
Yeah, get that discount code in.
Exactly. Mhm.
Got to thank Damien for the sets. You know, I don't think you know, I wasn't on a team before you know, I left Riko and wasn't on a team before we joined Apex. I wouldn't have made the Pro Series if I was trying to build my own set. So I got to thank. Oh, and I got to thank my dog here too, Lola. She's
Yeah,
great.
Lola. We'll get her on the show
Uh,
too.
Yeah.
Is that from the King song?
Oh, that song. Yeah, I like that song. But you know, without Damien's sets, I wouldn't have made Pro Series, and without his help and everything, I wouldn't have done it. So got to thank him. You know, Mario Perez Photography. All of my shots that I get, if you ever see on Facebook where I post pictures of my car, he takes awesome simulator, you know, photography shots. He's great with it, great editing and everything. So it got his, you know, logo on my car. CFM by JDM Designs. He's the one who always does all my wraps. He makes great wraps. He just got done making my Pro Series wrap. So got to thank him. I feel like I'm missing one. No, I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of people to thank, but you know, for a simulator, you know, that it's still got a lot of people to thank that, you know, helped me get to this point. And special shout out to the people that comment on the videos and comment on my posts with dumb comments. I enjoy reading those. So
Good deal, man. Well, we wish you the best of luck. And we're going to continue to follow you. And then when you do get through this season, why don't you stop on back, share your experience, and we'll go over it again.
yeah, hopefully I keep my pro license, because top 15 in points keep the pro license. So that's not the goal. The goal is to win, but I guess the secondary goal is to keep the pro license. So I ain't got to do the pro qualifiers again, but the goal is to win. So hopefully, you know, I can return in 11 weeks, or I guess 13 weeks, and let you know how it went.
All right, good deal. Well, we want to keep you so you can teach me how to drive dirt cars too. So keep that in mind. I need some super high intensity training from you.
We could stream that. That
Yeah.
would
There you go.
Yeah, we'll make a
Yeah.
show out of that.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
See how poor of a coach I am. I can't coach.
Or the
I'll do
other
my
way
best,
around.
though.
or
I'll
the
do
other
my
way
best
around.
though.
I'm sure I'll make you look good.
I hope so.
Nathan, it's always good to hear about the experience. And when people go through cool experiences and stuff like that, it's always good to hear about it. And you know, not everybody gets to experience what you did, and definitely you're performing at a high level. So, man, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's been a goal for a while, so being able to achieve it is a great feeling, and it's just hopefully we can continue to perform at that high level and get it done in the Pro Series.
All right, guys, there you have it. That's our special guest tonight. And he is Dirt Pro Driver. That's what I put in the description. Special guest, Dirt Pro Driver, Nathan Waddell, here with us. Must sound good to hear that.
It does.
And,
it really does.
Yeah, so Nathan was here with us tonight. You got to hear about his experience there, making the Pro Series. So, guys, glad you could tune in with us for this episode number 12 of the Alien Factory podcast here at Area 51. So glad y'all are with us and have Nathan back. He was one of our first guests on like episode 2 or 3, something like that. 3. Yep. And he's back with us here on episode 12, talking about his experience on Road to Pro. Well, they call it the Dirt Qualifier, but now he's got his pro license in Dirt. So, man, glad to have Nathan back tonight. If you guys haven't done so yet, just ask you hit that subscribe button. Our goal, Nathan told us about his goal for the Pro Series is to win the thing, or at least keep his pro license. But our goal here at Area 51
is to get Junior in here. That's our
yes.
Yeah, that too. But
maybe I have more pull now. You know,
yeah, maybe.
Maybe I got more pull now. I'll do it.
Yeah, if you talk to him, tell him come on in. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, our secondary goal is to become a YouTube partner here before 12 months. We started there beginning of February, so we got until end of January, beginning of February there to become a YouTube partner. We are about halfway there, so every subscription counts. We really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel for all this great content. There's the bell icon down there. You get notified anytime we put up new content or go live here on the channel. And then lastly, down in the description below, always check that out. There's all kind of cool goodies for you guys down there. We got an affiliate link there to Major's Garage. We get a small commission off your first month subscription. We highly recommend their all access, $10 all access pass. Gets you pretty much setups for about everything in iRacing. And it's great. And they also offer free baseline setups you guys can build your own off of. They're called Baseline Plus sets. Then we have a link to osracing.net. You can get free oval sets for dirt and asphalt oval. And there's also Edwards Garage. I've got a link there. You click on it, go to their website. They got a Discord link. They got like 2,700 members in there, and all their setups are free from their setup builders, plus the community. It's all free. Got setups for about everything you would want. And then lastly, Jeff Maconi gave us a 10% off promo code for Maconi Setup Shop. Get you 10% off at checkout, promo code Area 51, no space, area the number 51. Number 51, no space, gets you the 10% discount Maconi Setup Shop. And we got a new one now from Nathan Waddell, and that is Apex Industries. You put in Waddell 15, that gets you what, 10% off there or 15% off?
15 for 15.
15% off. There you go.
Yes.
15% off there.
For.
So guys, always check out the description, all kind of goodies for you down
without there. The Apex help, you would not have been where you're at right now, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at a pretty good level before I joined Apex, but as far as making the Pro Series, there's no shot. Not if I was trying to build my own stuff.
Yeah, there's shout out to your setups. Help you out.
Yes, sir.
There you go. So, guys, we appreciate you being with us for this one. And for myself, this Mr. Excitement, Mike Howerton, we got the pro here, the man, the pro, the dirt driver, Nathan Waddell, the man, the myth, the legend, and the number 1 team driver, Robert Cook. Robert, thanks for being with us again this broadcast.
You're welcome.
and then the Admiral himself, the man that needs no introduction, the Admiral Tracy Rumschlag. Man, it's been a great podcast. Glad you're here with us tonight, too.
Oh, thanks for having me. You know, I like to be here.
Yeah, Scotty's down in Discord. He forgot to come in or something.
All right. Well, hey, for everybody here at Area 51 and our guest tonight, thank you so much for being with us. And as always, we will see you in the next one.
You missed it, Scotty.